Hello from the Eno family. This is our August mission report.
The last time we sent out a message was in July of 2018. Wow, that was a long time ago. And we don't even know where the time went. It's been a long time of hustling and bustling here. The last time we did speak is we were in Minnesota visiting Chris's family. His older brother Alan and his family was able to come up for an entire week, and we were able to spend time with them. The kids played with their cousins. It was a grand time. We went to the lake, we went to the water park. It was just a really good time. The only down part was that Chris wasn't with us for a lot of that time. He was actually working in northern Minnesota with his dad. The finances that he brought in for that with that job allowed us to pay off the van transmission debt that we incurred, as well as buy some supplies here in Guyana. So it was a very good opportunity. However, it was very sad that he couldn't be with us the whole time. But we still enjoyed the family time, and it was fun.
Yeah, and it also helped us to buy some of the supplies that we packed in some barrels there in Minnesota and shipped down. We bought a number of food items that are either very expensive here in Guyana or just they were unable to find here. And then some ATV parts, including an entire engine and a bunch of other pieces of the ATV, and some other supplies for some projects down here that we're working on, and some things for the kids, I think. Some water guns that we've enjoyed having water fights with. And then it was time to pack up and fly down here to Guyana. So our first flight was from Minneapolis down to Miami, and there was a young lady named Yulia that was supposed to be meeting. Her flight was supposed to come from Boise into Minneapolis, and then she would be with us on the same flight from Minneapolis to Miami. And she was coming down to work with us to help with things around the house, with cooking and cleaning and that sort of thing with the kids. But her flight got canceled into Minneapolis. And so after multiple problems, multiple delays and flight cancellations, she finally made it out of Boise, and even after more reroutings and everything like that and a lot of prayer on our part, she finally arrived in Miami the next morning in time for us to collect her baggage and go down to the check-in counter for Caribbean Airlines and check into our flight straight down here to Georgetown. And so she had kind of a rough trip, a rough beginning to her mission experience. But from Miami to Georgetown, the trip was uneventful, and we arrived in Georgetown and just fine. Spent the night in flight base in town, and then the next day made our way out here to Bethany.
And boy, did we take off running. We arrived home, and our water barrels were totally empty. While we were gone, there was some guys here building Uncle David's house, and they used our rain barrel with the very little rain that we had to make cement. And not only that is, while we were also gone, they used our pumped water barrel, which was fine. We knew all this was going to happen. However, during the time we were gone, our pump broke somehow, and they weren't able to really repair it. And so when we went to use it, when we first got home, because we found we had no water, it was broken. So we started out our time here in Bethany trying to fix a broken water pump.
We spent the whole weekend without water.
We spent the whole weekend without water. Chris tried to fix it on Friday, and he was having a hard time getting the sand point out of the sand. And we just prayed about it. He finally had to go down and retrieve some water from the campus next to us, which was a blessing. But we did spend the whole weekend until Sunday. We prayed and prayed, and all I could pray was, God, please send somebody to help Chris, because he was so discouraged to start out fixing things. It was just tough. And then not only that, on Sabbath, many of us came down sick with some type of little cold that we had brought from the States. I guess when you take some time off, your system kind of drops, doesn't it? But that's what happened to us. Yulia lived in our living room for a good amount of time too, because the apartments weren't finished. But we were very prayerful about our water situation, and and
Past it.
and Sunday, God sent a wonderful friend from Oshavu, Kevin Williams, to really help us. He helped Chris get the pump working and fixed, and we had water Sunday. And it's been working good ever since. So we're very happy for God's providence.
Yeah. So the rest of August was spent settling in here, unpacking the stuff that we had packed up before we left, and getting back into life here in the jungle, and setting up the apartments that were built while we were gone, setting them up so that Yulia would have a place to stay on her own. We had to put a toilet there. We ended up moving the toilet from our house over to there and putting a new toilet in our house. It's a long story. I won't go into why, but so we managed to get Yulia into her own room instead of staying in our living room. And sometime during that time, I had to go into Georgetown shortly after we arrived to fix an airplane, and I don't remember what it was or what I did.
That's how crazy it was.
But yeah, it's been pretty crazy, and that we hit the ground running in August, and it's been like that just about the whole time ever since. So
not only that, is that first week we were here, so we went through Sunday, got our water back, and 3 days later Uncle David and Aunt Becky showed up to look at their house, and they wanted to stay there. And that was an interesting procurement of hammocks and retrieving things for them so they could spend their first night in their own home. Even though it wasn't finished yet, there was still construction going on. But that's the adventure of the mission field, and while it's sometimes a little crazy and chaotic, we are very blessed here to be in the jungle, and we want to just share our thanks with all of you for supporting us for this ministry. If you want to continue to pray for us, we would be very blessed, and we'd like to hear that you're praying for us. It gives us an uplift in spirit, and keeps us going from day to day. If you feel called to continue to support our ministry financially or for one time or multiple times, you can go to our website shown on the next screen. So thank you. From the Eno family, we want to say thanks.
That's all for August.
Bye.